Welcome. These will be my thoughts on Runaways Season 1, Episode 4:15. The episode is rated TV-14, so with this video there will be spoilers for these first 4 episodes, and potentially everything MCU and adjacent leading up to and including when this first aired, not for anything that came out after. And as per usual, I'm finding things to love about it, but I'm still not loving an entire episode of this show yet. So I think I'll start with, I'm not sure if the effects are getting better or if I'm just getting used to the, prehistoric guard dog and the glowing skin of Carolina and the I don't know. To me, like, the one time where the dino didn't quite work for me in this one was when it like leaps from the staircase to the floor. That looked a little bit awkward, but other than that, I don't know. I guess they're kind of growing on me like a tumor. And I hope that I am incorrect in thinking that that's Leslie's dad in the bed healing, on account of the warm me bit. I appreciate the way that they're, I suppose they weren't, they were never quite united, the six. Now I'm especially feeling like I can't really call them the Runaways, because now it seems like Runaways is referring to the 15 victims. But the six, there was always some disagreement, but we're a quarter of the way through the first season, I believe it is. It's a good time to have these sort of factions arise. They're trying to prove different things, different theories. I wouldn't rule out that by the end of the season they might be 100% on the same page. And, that's the kind of thing you build towards. So I think that does cover the sort of overarching... Yeah, so yes, the thing with... let's see... Yeah, gonna try to do scene by scene. Not sure how chronological it's gonna be. It was, I thought they did a good job on the flashback to Amy's death. And yeah, like, by the end of this episode, we don't know for sure, but certainly it seems... when Nico says that there's no way Amy killed herself because of reading the diary, yeah, I'm inclined to agree. And they got a cop in there. Like, certainly, clearly, Tina thought there might be... I mean, she said to seal the, seal the entire house. I suppose hypothetically it could refer to, like maybe she's doing that because she's worried someone's going to come in and she's trying to cover up something, but she also seemed surprised that Amy was dead. Like when she, jolts out of the chair and reaches into the guitar case and pulls I don't know what out of there. That was not the look of someone who's like, oh crap, my other daughter found out about, my daughter's demise. No, that looked more like she's like, what happened, So and it also feels like, I mean, if she knew, why not keep Nico further away? We know that there's an option to seal Amy's room. Although I suppose it's not impossible. That was only introduced after. But even so, like, the because Nico and I appreciate, yeah, we saw Nico didn't, the appearance that she's had since Amy's death was something that she picked up from Amy's death, rather than the that it was always the case. So, and that's again good time to show us that, because now we've gotten so used to her looking like that, and so to see her, like, immediately we notice, she doesn't have the darker. I'm terrible at telling apart emo and goth, so I'm not gonna label it, but yeah. Let's see. So it seems like Nico was maybe more agreeable back then. So I can imagine, like, Tina could have just sent her somewhere. Um, yeah, I think but yeah, hypothetically, I guess it's not impossible that it is a suicide, but definitely I'm thinking some kind of murder, but it doesn't seem like it was Tina, and thus I don't think it's Pride, because, like, I guess it's possible she only became so much of an enforcer of Pride after, but I don't know. I don't think so right now. Um, and we know that Pride was already, because they, later in the episode it said they sacrificed one person a year for 15 years. So they've been doing this since their own kids were kids, and the I guess, was Amy even born that long ago? I guess it's possible that was. See, that's the thing. I guess it's not completely impossible. Maybe she was the first, or maybe could they have, like, is it possible? I'm not asking for anyone to answer. I'm just thinking out loud. The show's really got me theorizing, as might be plainly obvious to tell. So hypothetically, maybe Amy gave them the idea, or maybe they took Amy's corpse and, like, melted it into energy to heal him, and that was the first one, and then after that they decided to go with the Runaways, maybe. But yeah. Anyway, I think the yeah. Uh, so yeah. Nico is looking at the she gets the very clever that she turns off the voice, which, not gonna lie, that is also one of the first things I do when I have to deal with something like that. And yeah, the she gets a live feed, and she sees that cop. I thought at first that they were gonna do the like zoom in hands, and I'm gonna grab a still of this and put it into a database, and then you're gonna find. But instead, it turned out that's how she's able to recognize that cop later, when they're dealing with when the two of the dads are arrested. So the Pride fathers, Predads. And yeah, ultimately she um the phone, I think it is fried, and she's, yeah, because of the staff. I think that was also really cool when she just looks up at the camera like, holy crap. Yeah. Think that, Tina looking up the camera. Yeah. So yeah, Alex goes to look through or I guess, is this? Oh, actually, I think this is the part where we get the Zoom meeting, and yeah, the, it's a good way for the episode to set up. They're not really a united front yet. They have different theories, and they're not really seeing eye to eye. And I can imagine maybe by the end, every theory will have been either proven or disproven, and so they're going to be back on track to work together. And I feel like they're going to need to work together in order to come out on top in this situation. I guess that pretty much covers the... What was... Yeah. So after the meeting, Alex is looking for right, and I think in an earlier episode, in a video I did on one of the earlier episodes, I thought that someone was calling Chase Wilder, like in Van Wilder, but I think it's actually that he's calling Alex Wilder, which might actually be his last name. Certainly he doesn't really resemble Van Wilder. Anyway, yeah. Let's see. So Alex, tries to trigger the murder basement door, and now, it actually is a pile of coasters. So he can't coast on that anymore. And that is also a clever, because, like, yeah, hypothetically, just in case, even if they do believe that Molly didn't find that place, maybe if, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to make a new opening. And so he is going around looking for, the opening, which I appreciate, like, the stubbornness of a teenager, because it's like, this was a bad idea from the start, and now you're gonna go, like, really take a deep dive into the idea of just, you're just gonna try everything in this room until you find the door opening, so, and ultimately he finds the gun and points it at the mirror, and we get opening credits. Yeah, I am not sure it's a good idea, but it does feel accurate to the teenage mind, especially when they think that, like, their parents are doing something they shouldn't, or the like. And I guess that pretty much gets us to the let's see. I haven't really talked about the opening credits sequence so far. I'm not sure. Maybe I will at some point, but it's not going to be in this video. Yeah, let's see. Then we have the part where let's see. What's the other I guess the next thing is the sure, let's go with the so yeah, in right, I will also say that the thing about the let's see. Right. So yeah, and in the first scene, the flashback, it says, Amy, if you don't get out of bed now, you're going to be late for school. And shortly after, Nico enters. So and she seems like, she doesn't seem like she got up like just a few seconds ago or something. So I think the idea is that she was wondering why Amy wasn't getting breakfast right now or something, and goes to check on her, because I mean, presumably they're both leaving for school around the same time, aren't they? So that's a good way to have, and they don't need to spell that out. We just hear Wise say, if you don't get out of bed now, you're going to be late for school. Let's see. Yeah, great performance by the actress playing Nico when everyone in the scene, but she keeps saying the word no, and that's the kind of thing, if the performance is bad, you're gonna really notice. You're like, okay, you're saying no a lot. Like, it can be difficult to and Tina has the stern face, and Robert is trying to keep it together. Really nicely done. Yeah. So the school. We have Chase and Gert talking, and the thing about I thought it might be weird if we talked, because like they're trying to avoid the attention of other, like hypothetically, maybe their parents think that after that night in the first and second episode that they're friends again after 2 years, but it might be good for other students to still think that they're not. They're trying to avoid attention. As like in the episode before this one, which I'm just going to briefly note. I myself am not a furry. I just don't think there's anything wrong with it, and they kind of, I appreciate that back in 2017 they definitely thought this, and I appreciate a number of people still do, but there's more to being a furry, and I have this on good authority from actual furries than just having sex in the costume or the identity of being a furry. But yeah, Puritan American conservatives, when they are the ones who helped spread this misinformation about them, purposely or otherwise, and when they see something that is or hypothetically, theoretically, maybe could be sexual, that's what they zoom in on. They can't see anything else. But yeah, in the episode before this one, they also talk about, Gert talks about, like, maybe we could, maybe it's like a live action role play, and maybe we could be private investigators. So yeah, this episode, they continue to LARPI, and they talk a little theory. They haven't read theory, and then the cross players walk up and they ask Chase to apologize, which, like, yeah, as soon as that was made clear, I knew that it was going to end up with Chase, fighting at least one of them. That's like, wow. And, that is, like, sadly, a lot of misogynistic men, that's how they're going to behave about it. They don't think that they did anything wrong by attempting to rape an unconscious girl. They think that he's a jerk for stopping them and even breaking one of their ribs, like violation of the bro code, so yeah. And I quite appreciated that by the end of the episode, he has quit lacrosse, because, like, if that's how they're gonna, because, like, I don't know if everyone present knew, but they, every lacrosse player that joined them there knows Chase. Like, okay, it's possible that maybe Chase didn't used to stand up for people who needed help. I think there's a decent chance that, the last 2 years he hasn't been. But you don't even want to hear his side of it. You're just going to take the side of the other ones. Like, that kind of makes me think that maybe they took... Also because when he says, you can't even say what you were going to do. And they also don't react when, there's a little more is said that would really seem to imply, what we saw happen. So, yeah, sounds like the rest of the lacrosse team, or at least the ones we see. I don't know lacrosse. I don't know how many people play. Anyway, come to think of it, I don't even know if that's a team sport. I am happily, blissfully ignorant about most things sports. But let's see. It seems like the ones present are okay with what happened and think Chase was in the wrong, thinks he's the one who has to apologize. So, yeah, I think it's good for Chase to get out of that environment. Let's see. I think the thing, especially when one of the lacrosse players, the one with the broken rib, when he refers to Carolina the way he does, using the B word, like I knew, okay, I guess you like the feeling of having a rib broken, because get ready for the rerun. And let's see, I think that does resolve the and classic American high school, not even exclusive to the fiction. The authority figure only catches it when the person who isn't really completely in the wrong does something, rather than the ones who did. He doesn't come up to them and ask, what is Chase apologizing for? He comes up and says, Chase, you can't hit him. And let's see, I think, so the first three members of the club, and it's very nicely done, because she said the school says we only need 4 members. Now, at the time, I wasn't entirely sure, is that total? Like, does that include you? Or, but apparently it is total, includes her. So, when 3 people show up and say they're all members, the turning I'm with her shirts into I'm with Gert, that's again, I don't think it's wrong to have characters that are, you know what, I'm just gonna double check, because thinking about it, so I'm with her shirt, meaning, let's see. Yeah, that's right. So back then it would have been support for Hillary Clinton, where today it might be for Kamala Harris. And okay, so I don't know. I don't know the political leanings of the writers. That's the thing. One of the 3 members says, wearing this shirt no longer fills me with sadness, or something along those lines. So was she sad because she realized, as many of us did, that Hillary wasn't exactly the ideal candidate? I think maybe Bernie would have won. I'm sorry, I had to say, it's the law. The show is bringing up, Hillary Clinton. So moving on. And to be clear, I think a woman being president of America would be a great thing. Um, it's, it just happens to be that so far the two women that have been, that were the nominee and ran were not, um, you know, great candidates. And it does really show how misogynistic America is, that they would rather support Donald Trump than these two women who are like infinitely more qualified than he is. But yeah, I don't know if maybe that's what it means, because like, would it make her sad for any other reason, really? I guess, yeah. And anyway, the yeah, and then Carolina shows up, and the other girls, the club members, you know, say that she should leave because she's not a member of the club. And we see that Gert says, we're gonna have to have the meeting some other time, and goes up and talks to Carolina, and they, you know, yeah. So we're seeing that she is willing to. The Gert is, more open to you know towards Carolina, than in the season opener. And I think that might cover. Uh, let's see. I guess the yeah. I don't know. It feels a little weird that So she says, we'll have to end the patriarchy some other day. And like, maybe it's trying to comment on, because like, you have these three girls who tell another girl that she can't be part of what's happening. They don't even say you can only be part of it if you agree with these principles or something. They just send her away. And I've talked in earlier videos on the show about, like, there are some female feminists who try to, like, um, gatekeep feminism, and yeah, that is an actual issue, and it's not something that we men, even in those of us who are feminists, have to, I'm just mentioning it because I think that's maybe what they're trying to do here. So yeah, I that is something that is important to discuss, but I don't know, the line, we'll have to end the patriarchy some other day, and then she runs away from one girl to join a different girl, and they're going to deal with, their, pride. And it just feels a little awkward to be bringing up, because like, ending the patriarchy is something that we should be doing in real life, and for the show to be like, oh, maybe there's more important things like stopping pride, like, I don't know. It feels like, because they could have just had a, a goal that isn't something that in real life would be good. And I don't know if maybe this is them actually saying that they don't think the patriarchy should be overturned, because like, the patriarchy hurts everyone. It hurts women more than men, but you hear a lot of talk about, oh, male loneliness epidemic. I'm afraid I forget who it was that talked about it recently, but there was definitely someone who pointed out, well, there's a loneliness epidemic in general, and one of the reasons is the end of third spaces, but the idea that feminism is hurting men is completely ridiculous. It's patriarchy that does. So, yeah. And I know there are a lot of men who don't think we should do anything about the patriarchy. Some of them think they're gaining, listen, if you think that patriarchy is giving you something that you couldn't earn on your own in an actual equal, society, maybe that's something you should personally work on instead of bringing down, all women just to make yourself feel better. Like, that's not really healthy. And again, like when you look at the things that men point to say that, this is something that is upsetting to them, if you dig deep enough, you'll see that it tends to be rooted in patriarchy. It's one of the effects of patriarchy, and they just don't realize it yet. But yeah, I did really appreciate the conversation. Let's see. I think I may have to speed things up. I'm spending so much time talking about so few scenes. Let's see. So we have I guess, hmm, let's see. I think maybe yeah. So yeah, the two of them, Gert and Carolina, go to Carolina's place and they search through, and it's one of those things where, like, would there not be copy protect, um, even if they, I appreciate, oh, this, it's encrypted so they can't get into the file. Would Leslie really leave her computer so unlocked that you can just copy something off the computer that, she would not want you to? I don't know. I appreciate that in order for it to happen, it needed to be. I appreciate that we were spared a guessing the password scene. Yeah, I think that does bring us to, yeah. I quite appreciate, Gert talking about, some of the principles are actually kind of beautiful about Gibborim, and Carolina thanking her and saying, I know to outsiders it just looks, ridiculous, but there is some great stuff about this faith, and that's, there's a lot of, faith systems that's true of. Doesn't have to be a religion, and it's really great if this episode can help increase empathy towards, I've said before, like, unless it's like self-evidently, like on its face, just truly terrible, like the mass deportations that are happening in America right now, for example, like, you should be able to immediately say, even before they started, a lot of us were sounding the alarm bells and saying this is really terrible if this is actually carried out. But outside of stuff that's that, overt, yeah, like, there's a lot of ideas where if you just look past the surface, there's at least some stuff, I'm not a Christian, never have been, never will be, but I do think there's some beautiful things in some of Jesus's teachings. I'm very much a believer in empathy, and, you know, was it anti-capitalism when he said, like, he certainly took issue with rich people at the very least, and, I don't reject those ideas just because they're also found in Christianity. Now, I think... Excuse me. Yeah. Let's see. The thing about... Was that R2-D2 on the USB? That's fun. And yeah. So right, I like the thing where, oh, you need protection? I can do it. I can only do it when I'm scared, though. And Gert is like, I'm sorry about her. And I guess that pretty much brings us to the... Let's see. The... I guess I'll talk some about the parents. So, yeah. The the hippie parents are looking... they spend basically almost every time they're off screen in the entire episode, they're looking for the dinosaur, and apparently it didn't actually go very far. I guess it was hiding out very close by, and they kept missing it or something. Sure, Jan. And yeah, it was kind of fun how bad of liars they are. The hedgehog, I guess the hedgehog was gone longer than we thought. And the let's see, yeah, them talking about like they really have to get out of pride. And it is, there's that thing about like what's the word, the let's see, they really want to get out of pride. And there's the thing about they're just... they're tired, and they're scared, and these are some of the reasons that some people eventually leave, for example, organized crime and cults and such. Then we have the let's see, I guess that pretty much brings us to... Oh, I guess I'll briefly talk about... So yeah, one of the other girls at school thinks that Carolina, yeah, that she had sex with the two guys, and that, because, yeah, that's now the story going around. She had sex with them, and now it's her fault that there's conflict. That's, again, very patriarchal notion that if something bad happens to a woman, it's her own fault, and she's to blame if men feel bad about it or get angry with other men about it. Yeah, a lot of misogyny inherent in patriarchy. And I appreciate, sadly, and to be clear, the following, and basically everything I'm saying where it's not about cishet white men, I'm saying it because I've learned it from members of the communities that I'm talking about. I'm not trying to mansplain anything. In part, I make these videos for guys who don't yet understand these things. And some of whom refuse to hear out women on these things. Anyway, yeah, so with that explained, yeah, there are some women who, what's the term, uphold patriarchy, as we see in this, and I appreciate, like, she might have been lied to, she might not know the truth, but it's, again, this thing of, like, you don't want to ask her, and like, she says, you're such a lightweight drunk that you hooked up with them and then you forgot about it. Does that not mean that it's hypothetically possible that it wasn't consensual then, if she actually forgot it happened? The yeah. But yeah, and then there's the let's see. I think that does. Yeah, so by the end of the episode, we still don't know exactly who, like Tina hires this guy with like tattoos, and I like the exchange. Thank you, as usual. Thank you for your service. As usual, thank you for the cash. But the he says he was surprised by what he was called in for. So hypothetically, is that him taking Alex at the end of the episode? I don't think it's like random. At least I don't think it's. I guess hypothetically, could it be the what was he called again? Darius, maybe, because that is the son of the and maybe part of the files is the maybe that's how they found his car, Alex's car, because they started whoever took him started Alex's car alarm. Yeah. Um, let's see. Yeah, it was very tense when Tina is suddenly there with the uh, the hippie parents who continue to be really bad liars. And then she says, I know about the ranch. You've moved a lot of money there. Just so yeah, they can't escape. And that again is very true of both organized crime and cults. And so far, Pride has elements of both. Yeah, I think that might be the so let's see. Then we have yeah. Holy crap. When so I mean, I think the idea is that he was hallucinating, that he already grabbed someone and put them in the back of the car, cuz like there seems to be no trace left of, you know, yeah, I believe he was just hallucinating that the malaria medication. And Janet tries to soften it by saying, "Oh, but he wanted to tell you, but I talked him out of it." And now he's the one saying the problems with me, not the machine, or something along those lines. And let's see, I think that might bring us to the well, let's see what's left. I guess there's the yeah. So Gert, gets a lift out of a lift in a lift out of away from Carolina's home, and I feel bad for her. Like clearly she likes Chase, and like he can tell, but the yeah, he closes the door on her to be alone with Carolina, and like I said, potential love triangle there. Right, I guess I'll briefly note. So I did appreciate that. Yeah, for a second it looks like he's going to tell. And yeah. I guess let's see. He wanted her to tell, so he wanted Gert to say on the call, on the Zoom call. He's like, well, Gert, are you not going to tell them about the other thing? And yeah, she doesn't want to tell them, and so he covers for her by saying, you know, well, Gert looked at my junk using an X-ray. Yeah. Um, let's see. I guess that does bring us to the part where so yeah, once it's just Carolina and Chase, she yeah, he tells her that he did stop them, but he got there in time, but he got there just in time. They would have gone through with it, and she's of course very grateful. And then she says she wants to take off the bracelet again, and she's worried she's going to pass out again. And I mean, she did have something to drink. She didn't take the drug. So hypothetically, maybe a combination. Maybe the powers don't mix well with liquor. But yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I guess it really was primarily in the first episode. It was primarily the POV shot that I didn't think really worked. And I think maybe they were also like doing a thing of like making it seem like, well, maybe she's just seeing things, you know, she took a drug, we thought at the time, and now she's hallucinating or something, but the effect that they put on, I just didn't think completely worked. But yeah, here, you know, and we, you know, now it's completely clear, like, yes, other people can see it as well. Chase can see it. It's not something that she just thought happened. And yeah, you know, he points out, is this danger, even if it's not dangerous to you, could it be dangerous to me? I'm not sure if I want to touch, you know. So, you know, let's see, I think it was Gert who left him hanging, and now he's about to leave Carolina hanging. But you know, he goes through with it, he high-fives her, and we see that it doesn't spread to him, but he doesn't seem hurt by it in any way. So we're getting a little bit more, you know, information thus about her power. And the, let's see, I think that does, yeah, and again, you know, we're seeing that her, you know, power, like, it's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, it's just part of her, and it's good that she has him to trust to help her explore it. And you know, there was a time where superpowers of, you know, various kinds were metaphors for puberty, you know. A lot of teen superheroes. I'm not saying it's always the case, but when you're dealing with a teen superhero, there's some chance that that's what's, yeah. And this here worked really well as the metaphor, you know. I think the yes, the I guess that pretty much, let's see. So there's Timely. What a timely reference to Marvel, I think it is. And let's see. We have the thing about, I guess that pretty much, huh. That is just about it. I feel like there's one more thing about that. Right. So yes. So you know, Nico wants to go report the murder of Destiny, and Alex, you know, goes with to support. And you know, yeah, at first the cop doesn't take them seriously, you know, and you have the social awkwardness of like, I would like to report the murder. Well, I wouldn't like to, but and Nico, you know, says it's 2 murders. Do I hear 3? Does anyone have 3 murders? Sold. To the young woman reporting 2 murders. And I think that, yeah, and so, you know, they wait for a while, and then eventually they see, you know, yeah, the cop that helped, you know, with Amy's, and, you know, yeah, she, they can tell, okay, this guy must be working with pride, like purposefully. Wow, I never would have thought that an American would encounter a cop who was corrupt. Whoever would have thought? It's almost like we need to completely overhaul that entire institution in order for people to actually be protected by them. But yeah, I think, yeah. So you know, this time someone has to go with, and it's Robert, who has a full plate today that he has to clear. And yeah, they were going to grab the homeless man, and they argue over whether they should knock him out, and then he fights back, and they're arrested. So I don't love that the homeless man. So basically, like, up to this point, the show has been willing to acknowledge that sometimes, runaways are abused. They're caught by the wrong people, and yeah, something terrible might happen to them. But then in this episode, they don't. The episode doesn't. It's not just the characters. The episode itself also doesn't have that much empathy for these homeless people. Like, basically, you could so easily have had that the homeless man got at least a little bit of dialogue that helped humanize him, but like, essentially, he exists to fight back against them and get them arrested. And I appreciate that it needed to happen, but you appreciate, like, the scene could have had about the same length, if that's what we're talking about. If, just like, hypothetically, let's say that Robert goes up to the guy and is like, hey, you look like you, or actually, I forget his name, but Chase's dad, if he goes up to him and says, hey, you look like you could use a hot meal, my friend and I here, we'd like to get you something to eat. If you would just follow us. And, at first, Robert seems like, okay, he's not super happy about it, but he's pushing through. And then the homeless man starts talking about, like, how he ended up homeless. And it's, a really powerful story. Like, I mean, when Destiny said that she had a 3-year-old and she didn't want to miss another birth, and this was the kid's birthday, she didn't want to miss another of this kid's birthdays, that was really powerful, so the show is capable of doing it. Have something similar, and then, as he's saying that, Robert is like, Chase's dad, we can't do this. I'm sorry. This is, and then the homeless man suspects, and so he runs away. Chase's dad tries to grab him, and then the cops show up. That could have been the same amount of running time of the episode, but actually humanized him, because, like, as it is, he's just, a homeless guy, like, with a big beard, and, like, oh, he seems knocked out. Oh no, he's, like, strong as an ox. Like, it's very dehumanizing in a really, like, we don't know his name. We don't know anything about this guy. And that's the kind of thing that, like, yeah, we really got to get better at positive representation, empathetic representation of homelessness, because, like, they're human beings. It's, like, and at first I thought they were maybe going to go there, because, like, Robert comments on the smell, and then Chase's dad is just like, that's the stench of failure, so clearly he's not, he has no sympathy towards them. But then once they're talking about what to do with the homeless man, it's not that Robert feels bad about it. It's just, they're just talking strategy, so yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying it's impossible for them to do something in a later episode, but I do think there should have been something in this episode as well. Now, I think that does bring us to the right. So okay, I'll talk about Timely briefly, and then yeah, the dino. Yes, so they managed to crack it. They're really making Alex the nerd here. It's possible he is in the comics. I haven't read any Runaways comics. But he's able to crack encryption, though it took him long. He wasn't expecting it to be quite that difficult. And his license plate says my other, or there's a bumper sticker or something that says my other car is a TARDIS, and I guess that was still considered nerdy by the was I can never remember. I've heard when the when it was that Doctor Who became more, you know, mainstream in America. I forget if that was around this time, but I guess even if it were, that's still a dorky sticker to have. But yeah, and they talk about, the what's LED, and oh, that's, her name, Leslie Owen Welsh. That's her full name, her maiden name, something like that. And right, and I appreciated the bit where Carolina reads some of the Gibberim, book, which, if I understand correctly, was written by her maternal grandfather. Um, but let's see, I think, the fact that she can still find some comfort in that, that is, it's both realistic and potentially positive. Like, it's one of those things. I mean, obviously, if the entire uh, belief system is based in part on sacrificing, then living people, then that's obviously a, if there's no way to extricate the positives, then that's a bad thing. But um, I do think it is great when people are able to, let's see, it's been so long since but recently I've been watching Antibot and Genetically Modified Skeptic, and they use the term, so I hope I'm using it correctly, deconstruct, like when you leave the religion, if you can deconstruct without abandoning the positives that there may have been. So yeah. Right, and the thing where so Leslie keeps managing to convince her husband that yeah, things are not as she keeps mentioning Ultra, and that keeps working on him, and I'm a little worried that she's gonna sacrifice him to pride. But the let's see. Yeah, understandable that he thought she was having an affair, and I think it's supposed to, like, because we're not sure if, like, I mean, she did get naked and get in bed with that other guy, so that's, but yeah, she's able to weaponize the faith. She talks about, well, it's a meditation chamber. I was praying for you for 2 days, and I've reached the conclusion that you're ready for Ultra. Let's see. As she also said to, that's part of why I'm worried that it's code for, I think when she tells, so far, when she told Destiny, you're ready for Ultra, and she even, like, that's how she got her into the building, this is how you become Ultra. So I think she's going to sacrifice him as well, and even though, like, I'm not founder of his fan club, but, like, I still don't want him dead. Like, he seems like a perfectly fine, yeah. Um. Oh, right. Chase's dad. So yeah, we see Chase working on the, what did he call it again? The fisty something. Um. And yeah, he doesn't want his dad to see it, and then his dad says, no, explain it to me, talk me through it, we'll work it out. And the joy on the face, just like, yeah, it's so great, because this is the thing, they both find scientific progress fascinating, but because Chase's dad is abusive, it means that he feels he can't share that with him, even though he in part got it from him, and that's the thing that sometimes happens with, abusive relationships. So I hope it would be great if they were able to repair their relationship, because that is, like, I have heard of people who are able to, it's 100% up to, let's see, um, whether or not you want to, whether or not you can forgive someone who's abusive to you is up to you. And if you need somebody else's help determining if it is the right thing to do, it's not wrong to need that help. Try to find someone you can trust and talk to them about it. Yeah, try to make sure you really really think about it. Like, don't let it be just because, like, you feel pressured into it by the abuser, or like, sometimes it is the right thing. um for example, going no contact with someone, and stuff like that can uh be crucial. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, they note that, for 15 years they've sacrificed, so they're gonna have to tell the others. And yeah, Nico calls Carolina and tells her, and her parents are dancing and waving to her, "Hi, hun," just and that's the thing. Like, it is so difficult sometimes to accept that someone that you think positively of has a darker side, and it is also, of course, one of the things they're doing with the show, and possibly also in the comic. At some point you realize your parents aren't perfect, and this is, of course, the exaggerated version of, thankfully, a lot of parents go out of their way to avoid doing evil rather than going out of their way to do evil. Yeah, I think that does cover the yeah, really really exciting. I'm glad I'm gonna watch the next episode very soon, to find out what on earth. Yeah, I mean, I've given my theory as to what who took Alex and why, but even so, yeah, I think that might cover the so yeah, we don't know what that guy that thanked Tina for the money, what he did. I already mention that at the when the scene was playing out right in front of me, I thought that she was hiring him to kill the hippie parents, but then she talks to the hippie parents and intimidates them, so I guess it wasn't that. I guess maybe she's the one having Alex taken. But the let's see, I think, does that pretty much cover the poor no, actually, yeah, let's talk about, so the yeah, when we heard, Molly hears a noise, my first thought was it's the assassin who thinks that the hippie parents are home. And, like, yeah, that very nicely done. I appreciate that. I mean, it wasn't a huge amount of time before we realized it was the Velocity, but the yeah, it's it was very very nicely done on that. And I don't know, when it was close to her face, I guess, is it possible that maybe for close-ups they do have a maybe a puppet of some kind, maybe animatronic or something, but because it certainly looked much more real to me than in, I already mentioned the awkward jump, but yeah, and ultimately we didn't get a huge amount of, super powered, super strength versus a Velociraptor. But it was cool seeing, and it's also confirmed, like, yes, it's not just her hands. Sometimes it is only the hands that are super powered. But it, her kick was definitely super powered. To launch it off the, yeah, and Gert is able to, calm it down, doing her best Chris Pratt impersonation. And the I haven't actually watched those movies, but cultural osmosis. But the but yeah, she's able to give it clear commands like sit and chill out, jerkwad. And then the parents come home, and there's the thing about, like, oh, he follows my commands. Yeah, but not mine. That's the very, very sibling energy. Like, mom and dad, why won't the pet, dinosaur listen to me? It listens to my older sibling. And yeah, they talk about, well, it's unexpected. It's a very unexpected surprise, to be sure. And yeah, um, let's see. Yeah, then we have you know, the conversation, and Hippie Dad snaps at Gert. And I appreciate him admitting that she got the snark from him. Yeah, I think that might cover this entire episode. Let's see. I guess. I'm trying to think of if there is. Yeah, so, I've said before, I appreciate a good book ending. Nico both opens and closes this episode being upset and voicing that about someone she cares about, either dying or being kidnapped. So I hope she got to like decompress after portraying intense emotion so many times in this episode.